right, today I'm going to be showing you how to put together a 3D Americana birdhouse. And so I've got all my pieces cut and ready to assemble, and I'm going to get myself organized, and then we're going to start putting pieces together. Okay, so I have the pieces laid out for the front and the back. It's important that you put all the pieces on it while it's flat, and then before you start putting it into 3D. And so I'm just going to use a regular glue stick for this, and what I'm going to do is start at the bottom, and we'll put some glue on the roof part, the scallop roof part. Okay, just glue that up. And then apply that right here. And I can also glue this. This piece is meant to have a little bit of a border around it so that you can see a little bit of the red all the way around. So I'm just eyeballing that, getting that on, and then I'll put this blue piece on right here. Make sure that that needs to go up just a tiny bit because this piece, this white piece fits right on the edges there. So I think that looks about right. All right, go on with the next. Just going to keep on gluing until I get this done. Make sure I can see that. It looks like I need to bring this one up just a tiny bit because it's a little, or down a little. There we go. I want it to fit within these folded score lines on the side right here. So that's what I'm looking at, is to make sure they're going to fit when I bend this back to put my house together. And one last scallop. Turn that right like this so I can see. Okay, so there's the front of that done. I'm going to repeat the steps on this side for the back off camera, and then I'll be back. I'm just centering my star on the back of here, making sure my things are ready. Give it a good little push to make sure everything's there. And then I'm going to go to the assembling the sides, and then we do have some flowers and stars to add onto this house, but we'll come back to that in just a minute. I'm going to continue with this, assembling the sides of this double-decker birdhouse, and on the sides there's just one hole only, so we're going to put glue on here and here, and then to attach them down. We will have these scallop pieces are going to go up the side of this birdhouse like this. I'm just laying them out to make sure they're going to fit correctly so that I know where the spacing should be. So I'm just putting glue on the bottom of the scallops here so that I can line everything up correctly, and then I'll glue everything together later. So I just want to be able to make sure that it's in the right spot while I have them lined up. And now I'll turn the whole piece over and get it glued really well. And now I can come back and do my little blue scallops. So I'm going to repeat that exactly for this side, and then I'll be back. So the next step is going to be assembling, putting all the decorations on the sides, front and side of the house. So we're going to assemble some flowers, and then here's some stars. And I like to make my flowers a little bit 3D. So I will show you how I like to do that. While I'm doing this, I like to use, I have a little piece of a dowel that I have cut, and I use that to help me roll. And then this is an embossing tool that I like to use because it helps me give some dimension to the flowers. But the first thing I'm going to do, set these two aside, is I'm going to glue down the star. Make sure I have that right where I want it. So I'm gonna start I'll start with this larger flower. So what I like to do is I'll take my dowel and just roll the edges of the flower like this. And then I will use the embossing tool to kind of come in and give it a little shape in the middle like that. Okay, so that brings it up and gives it some more dimension. And if I need to, move that so you can see it, I will come here and curl them a little bit more. Okay. And I'll do the same thing with this. Go here and roll it. And then this little white flower, actually I'll use the end of my dowel. So I just kind of use whatever I can make work to give me the little dimension that I want. Okay, so this is going to go in the middle. A little dab of glue on there. And then I will put this in the middle of this flower and kind of push it down so that it sits there in the middle. Make sure it's glued really well, glued together. Okay, so I'm going to continue this same process. I'm going to go ahead and use that bigger one because I made a little dot in the middle there. I'm going to do a similar process on all my little flowers, and then glue them all down. So I'll show you this blue flower before I speed things up. I just come here and give it a little bit of a curl with my embossing tool. Use my fingers to help me do that. And then I push it in the middle like that. And we'll push that back out again. Okay, and this little center, pop that on like that. And I might fiddle with them a little bit more as I get ready to glue them in place. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing that to all these flowers, get the stars on these sides and assemble these flowers, and then it'll be time to put the whole house together. Okay, so I have my flowers all arranged, and now I like to use a little bit of hot glue when I put those little 3D objects down like that. So I'm going to go ahead and spittle. You don't need that much in it. The size glue gun I have, sometimes it's hard not to get too much, but that way I'll be able to get it and layer those on so that they still keep their shape and dimension, which is hard to do. It's hard to get them glued on very good if you do that with just a glue stick. And I've decided to put this little flower right there. Okay, so now it's time for the fun part, which is assembling the house. So we have the front and the back and the two sides, and then this is the base. Okay, so we're going to be bending all of these, creasing them. I also do recommend letting things dry really well before you assemble your house. So you might want to let it dry for an hour or two, or even overnight, just depending on how wet your objects are, because you don't want things to pop off. The things that I've hot glued on, as soon as it's cool, they should stay on okay. So go ahead and bend these back. And this. So now what will happen is my sides will glue, they're going to be glued to the side here like this. Okay, so when you do that, when you glue them down, you just want to be sure that you're butting up next to the fold, and that the bottoms are lined up and the tops. And you do want to do this fairly quickly. So my glue gun is on hot, just so that it doesn't cool off too fast. Otherwise, that's usually what happens if I have it on the cool setting, is it cools off too fast. So just be careful, don't get your fingers, and just know that it's hot. Okay, so there's that side, and that's attached well. And now we'll do this side. And same thing, I can shift it a little bit if I hurry, make sure things are lined up pretty well. Okay, and now I need to do the same thing for the front. So this piece is going to go here. Make sure that you can see that. So get some glue. And line this up like this. Okay. And then I'll be able to stand it up, and this piece is going to come over and line up to this piece right here. And again, we got to make sure that we're kind of sliding it into place. We want everything to be lining up. And I think that looks pretty good. There we go. Okay. And now I may need to add a little glue there because I lifted it up a little bit. So I'll just add a little touch more glue and get that back down. Okay, and let's check our other seams. We'll put a little bit more right here. Okay, and now these will come in, and our bottom will go on the top, on the bottom right there. Okay. So just making sure everything will fit. And it looks like I lost, oh, no, just had an extra flower center. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the glue on this base like this. And then line it up this side. Okay, so we're just getting the bottom of the house into place. Making sure that it's lined up really well. Push that down. and then it's going to be onto the roof. So now we're working on the roof, and the roof has a fold line, and to make it, it's kind of hard to see on this dark paper, so to make it viewable, I'm going to just line this ruler up on the midline, and then I'm going to put my house right here and center it and make sure the front is where I want the roof to be, okay? Then I'm going to give myself a little mark so I know where I want to line up and glue the top, and then I'll go ahead and just continue that line on this side. And I don't need a big line, I just need a little bit of a mark, okay? So now what I'll do is put a little bit of glue right here, and then line up my marks as I glue it down, okay? I'm lining up the center. It's hard to do on the camera so you can see, but I think that's got it. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing on this side. Tiny bit of glue. And line that up. And then I'm going to peel this back and put more glue. And then I can just glue this side. And make sure that it's looking even. So there we have our double decker 4th of July or Americana birdhouse.